When everyone had gone to bed at my in-laws' house, I was taken to a small, dusty room. "What are we doing here, Lily?" I asked. My mother-in-law gave me an angry look. "Don't act like you don't know. This is where you're sleeping tonight." "But I'm supposed to sleep in the guest room with my husband." "There's no bed for someone like you." "Someone like me?" I replied. "You're the one being rude. Here, take these newspapers. Sleep on them," Lily said, handing me a bundle of old newspapers she found in the corner of the room. Why is she treating me like this? I thought, feeling upset and hurt. I had no choice but to say, "Okay." Once she left, I tried to leave the room, but the door wouldn't open. It was blocked. Feeling defeated, I spread a newspaper on the cold floor and sat down to cry. I couldn't handle it. I almost wanted to leave my husband rather than be treated this way. Just as I was crying, the door suddenly opened. To my surprise, it was someone I didn't expect. "My name's Emma. I'm 27, she said. "I met my husband, Mark, at work and fell for his kind and honest nature. After 2 years of dating, we got engaged. Before visiting his family for the first time, he gave me a warning. My family lives in a big house in the country. My grandma is 80 and in charge. She can be strict, so I'm not sure how she'll like you. I'm sure it'll be fine. And your parents are nice, right?" I replied. I felt nervous the whole way there. His family's house was huge, with beautiful fields all around. It looked like a rich, well-kept place. "Hello, we're here," Mark said as we pulled into the driveway. His mom came out to greet us. I nervously greeted her and handed her a gift. "Oh, it's so nice to finally meet you," she said warmly, just like Mark had told me. I felt a little relieved as I was invited inside. There, I met his grandma and dad, who seemed kind. "Welcome. Come, sit down," his dad, Tom, said, inviting us to sit with his grandma. Lily brought us lemonade. "This is Emma. We're getting married this year," Mark introduced me. Tom smiled. "She seems wonderful. I'm glad for you, son." His grandma, though, stayed quiet and just watched me. As I nervously answered questions, I took a sip of the lemonade, but something tasted off. It was way too salty, almost like seawater. I gasped, almost choking. "Are you okay?" Tom asked, concerned. I quickly told myself it was probably just something they liked in the area. I didn't want to upset them. Suddenly, Lily spoke up. "If you're getting married, we'd like to meet your family too." "When can we do that?" "Well, I only have my mom," I answered. Lily raised an eyebrow, and Tom looked at me kindly. "I'm sorry for your loss," Tom said, "but we'll make sure your mom is happy. You'll be well taken care of, Emma." Mark nodded, and I felt comforted by his words. When we were leaving, I put my shoes on, but something sharp poked into my foot. I yelped in pain. "Are you okay?" Mark asked, and Lily looked at my foot. "How did this get in your shoe? Are you hurt?" Lily said, concerned. "I'm fine, really," I said with a forced smile. On the way home, Mark tried to cheer me up. "I know you were nervous all day, but don't worry, everyone's happy to have you." "I'm not so sure. Your grandma didn't say anything to me," I replied. "That's a good sign. She's very honest. If she didn't like something, she would have said it right away." I guess so, but the salty lemonade and the glass in my shoe were strange. I thought to myself, but I didn't want to say anything bad about his family. After that, I met his family again, and Mark and I got married. My mom was so happy, and it made me feel better about my decision. We had a normal life for a while after that. Mark didn't mind me working, so we both contributed to the household. One day, I got a package from Lily. It had some vegetables inside. I called her to thank her. "Hello," she answered after a few rings. "Hi, Lily. The package arrived today." "Thank you," I said. "Oh, good. But it wasn't for you," she said, snickering. "I sent those for Mark. If you eat them, I'll be really mad," Lily said, keeping a smile on her face. She had been so friendly at the wedding, but now her tone was sarcastic, and I was confused. "I can't believe you actually got married. You knew you weren't wanted, right?" she continued. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "I put salt in your drink and hurt you with a glass. You should have realized. You're so dumb." "I had a feeling those were tricks to annoy you," she said with a laugh. I was shocked by her words, but she kept going. "How can we accept a girl raised by a single mother into our family? Grandma didn't say anything to you, did she? That's because she didn't want you there." She didn't want to say anything in front of Tom and Mark, but she wasn't happy with you. Remember that. I felt tears coming to my eyes, and I sniffled into the phone. Lily seemed pleased with my reaction. If you tell Mark about this, I'll make sure you regret it. I don't think he'll believe you anyway, so you should divorce him as soon as you can. She hung up the phone. I stood there, choking up. When Mark came home, I couldn't tell him what had happened. He was excited about the package from his mom and didn't suspect anything. I couldn't tell him the truth. I told him that his parents lived far away, so I didn't have to deal with Lily face to face. But she kept calling me and making cruel comments whenever Mark wasn't around. She didn't like the fact that I was raised by a single mother, and she started making fun of my mom too. A woman raised by a single mom isn't good enough for my son. You probably grew up poor, didn't you? Your mom must be just as bad for raising someone like you. After dealing with her for so long, I started losing weight from the stress. Sweetheart, have you lost weight? Mark asked one day. I quickly replied, oh really? Maybe I've been on a diet lately. He seemed worried about me, but I brushed it off. As time went on, with summer approaching, Mark suggested, why don't we take a short trip to my parents' place? That's a great idea. I'm looking forward to seeing them again, I said, pretending to be excited. Mark was happy to be going home after a while, and I didn't want to ruin his mood, so I went along with it. But the truth was, Lily's harassment hadn't stopped. I was fighting a growing sense of anger inside me as the trip neared. The day came and Lily acted completely different, hiding her usual cruelty and greeting us cheerfully. I forced a smile and tried to be nice. When I greeted Mark's grandmother, Grace, she spoke to me for the first time. Welcome back, dear. Make yourself at home, she said kindly. Thank you, I replied. Tom, Mark's dad, was as friendly as always. He welcomed us with fresh watermelons and cold drinks. I stayed close to Mark, hoping it would keep me safe from Lily. It worked, though she still gave me nasty glares sometimes. But at least she didn't do anything too bad while we were there. I wanted to finish my trip in peace, but I couldn't ignore helping Lily clean up after dinner. I had no choice but to be alone with her in the kitchen. As soon as we were away from everyone, she threatened me quietly. What do you think you're doing, sticking to Mark all day? I told you to divorce him as soon as possible. I don't plan on leaving him, I replied, trying to sound firm. I want you to accept me. You want me to accept you? You're so bold for someone raised in a poor, single-parent home. If you ever show up here again, I'll make you regret it. Before I could respond, her face changed. I looked behind me and saw Grace standing quietly in the corner. Oh, are you going to bed now? Grace asked. Yes, I am, Grace said, giving us a long look before heading to her room. Once she was gone, Lily went back to bullying me. I had to keep my cool until I finished cleaning. When I was done, I went back to the living room. Mark was drunk after drinking with his dad. I'm going to bed, he said. You should get ready too. Then Lily spoke up. She said she wanted to look at the old photo albums, so I was thinking of showing her. I hadn't said anything like that, but Mark didn't doubt her. Oh, okay. Can I go first? He asked. Yes, I'll join you later. After Mark left, Tom got up, said goodnight, and went to his room. Once we were alone, Lily told me to follow her to the storage room at the back of the house. It was filled with old boxes and furniture, with a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. It was dark, small, and smelled musty. What are we doing here? I asked. Don't pretend you don't know. This is where you're sleeping tonight. Oh, but I'm supposed to join Mark in the guest room, I protested. She gave me a nasty look. There's no bed for someone like you. Someone like me? Yes, you're ugly. Here, take these newspapers. Sleep on them. She handed me a bundle of old newspapers with a smirk. Why? What did I do to deserve this? I thought, feeling both angry and sad. I could only reply in a shaky voice, I understand. I'll let you out in the morning. Have a good sleep until then, she said, leaving with a grin on her face. I tried to get out, but the door was blocked by something. I couldn't escape. I spread the newspapers on the cold, dusty floor and sat down to cry. After a couple of hours, I heard Lily snoring in the distance. I couldn't sleep. I just sat there, crying. Her bullying was more than I could take. I almost wished I'd left Mark just to escape the treatment. Just as I was crying, I heard the door rattle, and it opened. Grace. There she was, looking down at me with sharp eyes. What are you doing here? Well, I guess I know. She wiped my tears with her old, wrinkled hands. Then she pulled me up and led me into the hallway. She suddenly shouted, "Get up, everyone, and come to the living room." Mark was the first to react. He saw my tear-streaked face and looked at Grace in surprise. "What's going on, Grandma?" Tom came out of his room next. "Mom, what's happening? Why is Joy crying?" Finally, Lily came out, looking shocked. When everyone was in the living room, Grace sat at the head of the table and told me to sit next to her. Mark and Tom were both confused. "Here, tell us honestly, what happened to you today?" Grace asked sternly. "Don't worry about anything, just tell us." "Okay, Lily told me there was no bed for someone like me. She gave me newspapers to sleep on and locked me in the storage room." Mark was stunned. "She's been harassing me this whole time. She called me a child from a low-class, single-parent home. She even made fun of my mom, which hurt a lot." "That's outrageous. Lily, what do you have to say for yourself?" Tom shouted, glaring at her. Lily's lips trembled, but she said nothing. Grace turned to Tom. "It's all true. I found her in the street. I also heard Lily saying horrible things to her after dinner." Tom and Mark stared at Lily in shock. Grace glared at her, raising her voice. "What do you have to say about single mothers? I raised my children alone too. She's a good girl and you treated her terribly. You're the one who's hideous." Then Lily dropped the nice wife and mother act, screaming in fury. "Shut up, all of you. It's your fault. You've been flattering her. She's just a stupid girl from a single-parent home." "Hey!" Tom tried to intervene, but she continued. "Kick her out of the house right now. We're more important than her, right?" Grace shouted at her to be quiet, and the room fell silent. She turned to Tom. "You see, this is who you've been married to. I've warned you for years. She's been playing nice, but she's cruel at heart. I won't share a house with her anymore. If you won't get rid of her, you two will have to live together." Tom turned to Lily, his face red with anger. "You've always been selfish, but I never imagined you could be so cruel. Now that I know your true nature, I can't see you as my wife anymore." "What are you saying? I'll give you some money for now, but I want you out of here tomorrow." Lily was taken aback and turned to Mark for help. "Your dad is being horrible to me. Say something." "Enough," Mark said, his usually calm voice now full of anger. "What did you do to my wife? I'll never forgive you. I don't want to speak to you again. Don't ever show your face to me." Lily collapsed to her knees in shock, and everyone stared at her with disdain. No one comforted her. Instead, Tom and Mark both apologized to me repeatedly. I also apologized for not telling them sooner, and so the night passed into morning. Tom and Grace saw us off as we left. Before we left, Grace turned to me. "This is your home too. When you come back next time, Lily will be gone, so don't worry." I nodded and hugged her tightly before getting in the car. I later found out that Tom divorced Lily. He had had enough of her selfishness and inconsiderate behavior. They settled with a minimal division of assets. After being kicked out, Lily was turned away by her parents and ended up living alone in a small apartment. After being a stay-at-home wife for so long, she had to take up a part-time job. She must be struggling to adjust to her new life. She will probably spend her later years alone, but it's all her doing. As for me, I felt relief from the stress, and to my surprise, I'm pregnant. Since that incident, Mark has become even more affectionate toward me. Tom and Grace have been incredibly kind, and I've been able to enjoy my pregnancy without worry. I can't wait to go back and show Grace her great-grandchild once the baby is born. Right now, I'm really looking forward to that.